In the B101, so remember that's the owner-architect agreement, this is sort of standard one. In the B101, there is a place for additional services. Which of the following might you find in that list? So when you sign a sort of standard contract like a B101, often there's like, you make little changes to it, maybe the owner doesn't like some wording, or maybe there's a specific situation that you need to add a little bit more information in, and you put all the specifics of what the project is and which consultants are going to be included and things like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that you alter it in very specific ways. But then there's a couple of potential sort of big ways to alter it. And they try to build it in so that you can do that easily without having to kind of write a whole section and take out big portions of the existing contract. So there's this idea of the basic services that the B101 or any of the contracts have a series of basic services. And then there's a whole bunch of other services that are typical enough that they would list them out in the contract, but you have to specifically go ahead and mark them and say, yes, this is part of this contract. These are the additional services to the basic services that we're including into this contract. So they're listed in a big list. You can check them, and then once you check them, they're now considered part of this contract. Then there's a few big open spaces where you can add other additional services that don't show up on that list. But for the most part, most of the things you would normally include show up on the list. So a very important concept from the contract standpoint is this sort of bifurcation of basic services from additional services. Additional services are not crazy unknown things. They're typical things that come up all the time. They're just not always in every contract, whereas the basic services are always in every contract. So let's look at what our possibilities are here. We have landscape design, we have coordination with engineers, we have interior design, we have reviewing payouts, we have marketing materials, and design build services. So first off, one that I want to remove right away is we're definitely not going to be including in additional services design build services. And the reason for that is actually an entirely different project delivery method. You wouldn't use the B101 for that. The B101 is not set up to be a design build contract. It's set up to be an owner architect contract. If you want design build, it changes literally every word in the contract. So you just wouldn't use a B101 and then add as additional services design build. Now it's possible, I'm sort of stating that strongly, it's possible, I've actually done ones where we added design build for like a piece of furniture or a small little situation within a larger contract. But in general, you wouldn't use design build services as an additional service inside a B101. So that one's definitely not it. So then the question comes, well, which of these are basic services and which of these are additional services? Reviewing payouts, you are expected to review payouts. So part of the basic services in the standard contracts is that you are going to help the owner understand the progress of the construction. Now you can take that out if there are certain times when maybe they have their own employees who can handle that or something, but typically assumed as a role of the architect would be that you would help review the payouts. So the contractor is going to monthly say, could be every 2 weeks, could be every 2 months, could be at milestones, whatever. Typically it's monthly. The contractor is going to hand in a payout request. They're going to say, yeah, we're a third of the way through the project and here's how much money we expect to get at this point. And you as the architect are going to review that information so that you can help the owner understand what's going on, whether it's a reasonable payout request, and then you're going to help them go through that process and then pay the contractor. So that would be considered part of the basic services, so it's not part of the additional services. How about coordination with the engineers? Nope, that's also assumed to be part of the basic services. that the consultants are generally considered to be part of your team. And so your team's coordination is part of the basic idea of what the owner is contracting when they sign a B101 with you. That you're supposed to be coordinating. Does the structural plan match to the architectural plan, match to the mechanical plan, et cetera, et cetera? Does it all fit together? Are we doing the same? Are we all doing lead, or are we all doing something else? Like you're the one who's coordinating that, and that's part of the basic services. Now again, you can cross out if maybe the owner has their own engineers and they don't expect you to be doing the coordination. Well, you can just cross it out of the contract if you want, but it is assumed to be part of the basic services. So that leaves us with landscape design, interior design, marketing materials, and there's a whole bunch of other things. And if you start thinking about it, it makes perfect sense. Let's say you're doing a set of condos for a developer. Who should do the marketing drawings? Well, you have a ton of information, you're ready to go, you're thinking about it from all those standpoints. It kind of makes sense for you to produce those marketing drawings, but it's also not a standard thing. It's not, something that you would absolutely do on every project, but it makes sense that you would have a little spot where you could say, yes, and we're also going to be producing marketing drawings, and then you could describe what you're expecting to produce. Maybe it's a model, maybe it's 3D imagery, maybe it's floor plans for use to hand out to potential customers. There's lots of different ways that material might be understood, and you could define that in the contract, but that's a very typical additional service. And if you don't actually add it in, if you don't realize that it's been added in, you could find yourself producing an awful lot of hours worth of marketing materials that you weren't expecting and didn't have enough money in your fee for if you aren't sort of watching out for that. Interior design is kind of an interesting one because architects sort of always think that they are doing interior design, but there's always another level to the interior design. So for example, really understanding all of the furniture. Are they going to buy all new furniture? Is the architect choosing all of that? Are they coordinating with the salespeople about when it's going to come and how many chairs and how many desks of each and all of that? There's sort of an extra level of specificity that comes with interior design about all of those kinds of issues. Maybe paint colors and things like that might also be part of that. Landscape design. Landscape design can be part of the basic, but typically is considered an additional service. So there you go, very important concept, the differences between basic and additional services.